So here we are. We're going to hop on the Appalachian Trail. We're not going to do all of it. Don't have time today to do all of the Appalachian Trail. We're just going to do a small part. So yeah, we're just planning on doing this small part here. May venture on a little bit more, but probably not going to do more than 5 miles today. Quick recap. Louisville goes on the road for the 3rd time this year, 3rd time all being ACC games. And for the 4th time this year, the Cardinals have to come back for the win. Louisville jumps out to that early lead thanks to Isaac Brown's 53-yard run. I mean, you blinked and it was 7-0 Louisville. Problem was, an interception gave momentum real quick to the host Virginia Tech Hokies. They turned that interception into a touchdown. They later forced Louisville to punt deep in Louisville's territory. Punt's blocked, goes to the end zone, safety. Before you know it, if you blink twice, first it was 7-0, you blinked again, all of a sudden it was 9-7 Virginia Tech. The Hokies added a touchdown again, and at halftime it was 16-7. And then came the comeback. 21 unanswered points. Touchdown catch by Colin Lacey. 2 touchdown runs by Kewan Brown as he puts it away for the 2nd time in a row, 2nd game in a row. Big late clutch performances by Kewan Brown as the Cardinals again come back again and defeat host Virginia Tech 28-16 in what was a great game atmosphere at Lane Stadium from kick to finish. Great turnout by the Hokie fans. Made a great atmosphere. And Louisville, unfortunately, spoiled their weekend. Why don't you say we hike about it? Before we get to everything, though, let's check out Windrock. Looks like an amazing view. Yeah. A lot of leaves gone, but still a lot of Virginia Tech colors hanging around. The sun poking through is adding to it. It's a big drop right there. Can we be real? Can we be honest here? Were you ready to jump off a cliff at halftime when it was 16-7? I know many might have been looking for a cliff at least and contemplating it. It didn't look good. The interception, ooh, that was a momentum shifting moment if I ever saw one. Then you throw the safety on top of it, things looked pretty bleak. And then when Virginia Tech showed that they could make a drive and score and made it 16-7, probably a good thing a few of us weren't right here at Windrock during halftime. Yeah, don't do that, because as you can see, as bleak as it looked at that moment, and if you might have been contemplating saying, hey, let's see what's at the bottom of this cliff because it looks so bad for the Cardinals, look what happened. In the second half, that happened. 21 unanswered points. That's what happened. Now, it's more enjoyable to, no way I'm jumping off this cliff. I want to stick around and enjoy the view, enjoy the ride. 2025, it's something for this Louisville football team, but you know what? 7-1, 4-1. Stay away from the edge. This has been a fun season. A little anxious sometimes, but stay away from the edge. Let's go. So the Louisville offense, wow, what a start. Isaac Brown, 53 yards, he's gone. Touchdown. His 8th run of his career at Louisville of over 50 yards. The dude, once he sees a spot and he gets through an opening, he's gone. So great start for Louisville offense. It looked like, hey, I might be able to relax and open up a nice cold beverage or make some hot chocolate or pop some popcorn and just kind of relax in the easy chair or not be overly anxious for this Louisville game. No. Interception. Totally shifted the momentum back to Virginia Tech. Got that crowd into it at Lane Stadium. Special teams contributed to that as well. We'll get to them when we talk about special teams. But I think Miller Moss at halftime just had 40 yards of passing. Not a first half to remember for Louisville, except for the big opening run by Isaac Brown. But in the second half, hey, 21 unanswered. Once again, Louisville faced a difficult challenge, trailing by 2 scores at the half on the road in one of what is supposed to be a very difficult place to play, and they had that place rocking for a team that was 3-5 coming in, mind you. But in that second half, Louisville responded. Isaac Brown was consistent, helping that momentum get going. Unfortunately, he left the game with an injury in the fourth, late in the fourth. Miller Moss started finding some receivers, Chris Bell, Colin Lacey with a 24-yard touchdown reception that closed that deficit to 16-14, and momentum really started taking off for the Cardinals. For the second straight game, Kewan Brown said, ball game, as he went 24 yards for a touchdown. Week prior against Boston College, 60-plus yard touchdown to put that out of reach for the Eagles and their hopes of an upset. So Kewan Brown coming in clutch late. Offensive line, it was kind of a roller coaster, up and down day, but once they started getting things figured out and as the game wore on, those holes and running lanes seemed to come more into play. So in grading this Louisville offense, you can't forget the interception. You can't forget the struggles in the first half to find a rhythm. But you also have to tip your hat to coming out at halftime and having that will, that grit, that toughness that Jeff Brom talked about in the postgame. To find that rhythm, to not get down, to continue to feed the playmakers and score 21 unanswered to help Louisville pick up its 7th win of the game. The offense for the 28-16 performance, for the performance in the 28-16 win. Offense, I'm going to give you a B+. It's a heck of another comeback in a tough spot. Some big-time plays by Colin Lacey, Isaac Brown, Kewan Brown, Miller Moss stepping up in the second half. Multiple guys stepping up in that second half. Offensive line, everybody doing their job. B+ for overcoming that ugly first half and getting another W. How about that defense? Making me more of a believer every week. I suspect many of you are having the same experience. And it's not that I doubted them coming in to the Virginia Tech game. In fact, I expected that the defense would be a key reason for a victory if Louisville were to pull it off, and they certainly were. Put in a tough spot after the interception early on. Big return, got it basically to field goal range on the interception return, and Virginia Tech was able to mount a short drive and get their first touchdown. Defense didn't have anything to do with the safety. Can't put that on them. They did give up another touchdown later on, but after that, the defense is like, no, that's it, that's enough. That is enough. They forced a punt to end the first half, and then as the second half got underway, forced a punt, then another punt, then another punt, then another punt, then a turnover on downs, then a turnover on downs. Kept giving that Louisville offense an opportunity, and that Louisville offense woke up, as we discussed. A lot of big plays. TJ Quinn topping the Cardinals in tackles again. He's certainly on pace to lead the team in tackles for a third straight year. D'Angelo Hutchinson, the guy that's essentially paid his dues through the years, waiting for his turn. Basically a special teams guy, spot reserve guy, now a starter. And one of those guys that every year you're like, you could see that potential. You could see that potential. Yeah, and that potential is showing up. Another great game for D'Angelo Hutchinson in this game. Renee Conga. Des Lowry, big play. I mean, there were many, many big plays out there by this defense. You know, they struggled with some of that RPO stuff early, but once they adjusted to it, locked down, got committed to their assignments, didn't try to do too much, that kind of ended. For the defense, for their performance in Louisville's comeback win at Lane Stadium against Virginia Tech. First time Louisville's won in Virginia Tech. Defense, you're getting an A. There was no scoop and score pick six, so that's how you get an A plus. An A is extremely well done. Defense continues to show out, improve. They are one of the nation's best defensive groups in the country. Special teams group has been a vital part of Louisville's 7-1 record at this point. And I say that in a very positive way, very positively impactful in many regards. And that continued in Virginia Tech. What also continued, Louisville entered that game amongst the worst, the bottom, and not just the bottom tier, like the bottom small handful of teams nationally in punting. That's been a weakness for Louisville. It wouldn't be as glaring, not to point fingers, if the offense could become a little more consistent with their drives, have a couple more long sustained drives. I like the big plays as well, but they need some long sustained drives. Also to give the defense a rest. Good mix of both. But anyways, in punting against Virginia Tech, you'd have to say it was the worst outing of this season. None of the punts were particularly great, but you're certainly not going to forget about the blocked punt that resulted in a safety for Virginia Tech to give the Hokies growing momentum at that time and a 2-point lead at that time, making it 9-7. If you take that out, if you take that blocked punt and safety out of the special teams equation, what do you give them? I mean, look what Colin Lacey did. 30-plus yard kickoff return. You give him an opportunity, he's going to take it, and usually take advantage of it. Evidenced by they kept punting to him, and well, had a number that, just like Isaac Brown, Colin Lacey on his returns almost looks like, almost every time, like just a step away or a shoestring away from breaking a big one. Well, he broke a really big one against Virginia Tech, going 63 yards. They caught up to him as he was trying to avoid would-be tacklers. They caught him at the 5-yard line. It resulted in a go-ahead touchdown for the Cardinals. A lot of positives for the special teams. A really bad negative, if you want to call it that. Bad ding on the grade for the block punt and safety. Special teams for the play, for the impact that it had in Louisville's win at Virginia Tech. Significant on both sides. Louisville does get the win. They were able to overcome that block punt and safety, but it was still significant. Special teams giving you a B+. Got to figure out that punting. Or, like I said, just keep getting first downs. That'll solve the problem. As a visiting member of the media, Lane Stadium is similar to a lot of stadiums that I've visited throughout the years, in that really the best way to get to post-game for the visiting team is get yourself down on the field, and it's going to be somewhere over near the visiting team locker, sometimes outside. This one was in a back room. It's carpeted. U of L SID did a good job of clearing a lot of clutter that was back there, or having somebody clear a lot of clutter that was back there. Got the U of L banner up. Just a few chairs back there. Of course, didn't need many. There weren't many traveling media, but enough. Got a front row seat. I think there was only two, with the aisle in between it. Threw up my camera. Miller Moss is the first to come in. He's still in, pads. Sits down behind the table. I say to him, "Comeback cards?" It might have been something like, "Is that the identity or something like that of this team?" And he chuckled. Obviously, there's a trend there, the fourth comeback win of the season, which says a lot about this team. Jeff Brom saying that grit, toughness is adjectives that he used for his team in their play against Virginia Tech, and that's essentially what we've seen all season long. So, of course, Miller responds to me, would prefer not to have to do that, but paraphrasing, but it is a good thing that we have a team that can do that. Certainly they can. So the comeback Cardinals, it's got a ring to it. We certainly know how to do it. Hopefully, with each passing comeback game, the number of us that are losing our minds because of the fanaticism that sometimes takes over our brain during games, hopefully those numbers are shrinking, because the faith that Louisville can mount and come back and get a victory is growing. As always, appreciate you hanging out with me and going hiking with me. You never know where we're going to end up. And it's always more enjoyable following a win. We've been having a lot of fun hikes this year. There was one kind of depressing one. Not many of you watched that one. It's depressing. I understand. But I appreciate you hanging out with me on this one. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you haven't. If you have, appreciate it. Feel free to share it with your fellow Cardinal fans. Hit the like button, hit that hype button. All those things help out. Next week, it's Cal. We'll hike after that, and looking forward to seeing how this regular season ends. Will it be 10-2 as I projected during the preseason? Will it be 11-1? What will it be? Tell me in the comments what you think it's going to finish up as. Tough schedule still to come. Is Clemson tough? Not sure. Is Kentucky tough? They're a rivalry, so that changes things a little bit. SMU, yeah, they're tough, and that's on the road. Cal, Louisville can win all these. Thanks again for going hiking with Michael McCammon.